there's a formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect. It's a statement on modern society. Ooh, ain't modern society awful?
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Hello, welcome back to the Cabin Night podcast of indeterminate season. I'm Jake.
I'm James, I think. I don't know.
And I'm Rob.
And today we're going to be doing what we've done quite a bit of now, actually, and that is ranking and sort of semi-reviewing Trivium's albums. But before we get to that, we'd like to invite you to grab a drink, make yourselves comfortable, and enjoy the discussion. Trivium. How do we get to this point? What's your thoughts on Trivium? Do you like Trivium?
I do now. I remember there was a long time. I don't want to say I didn't like them, but I suppose indifferent to them. Because I remember when I first started getting into metal and rock, I think Ascendancy had just come out. I remember hearing a couple of singles from that, and they're just kind of there. I went, it's fine. Crusade came out, and I really didn't like Crusade. And then I didn't listen to them properly. I didn't really listen to them properly for years. Like odd bits would come up. Like I remember you playing me a couple of tracks from Shogun and stuff like that. I was kind of going, I'm not bothered. And then when In Waves came out, that's when I got into them, because I remember, I know I mentioned it before, but I was in the airport going on holiday. I just wanted something to read, so I picked up the latest episode of Metal Hammer, which had a massive interview with Matt about it making of In Waves and stuff like that. And I remember reading that and going, okay. Sounds like an interesting process behind the album, and the songs they're doing sound quite interesting, so I'll give it a go. And that's sort of when I got back, that's when I sort of got into them properly, was on the In Waves time. And then, so that's quite a while I'd say I've been into them. So, that's where I say I've been.
And you've been a fan since?
I'm a fan. I've never been, I suppose as they've gone on, I've got a bigger and bigger fan.
I think they've got better as a band.
I think they definitely have. I class myself as a fan. I was sort of like, I liked them for a bit, and now I was like, I'm a fan of Trivium now, if that makes sense,
Yeah, I know it's a much less favourable start for you, isn't it?
I think we've spoke about it on a previous season. Elitist gatekeeping. I didn't like the look of Matty when he first came out with his headband and his short spiky hair, and it put me off, so I didn't listen to them. And then when Crusade came around and they turned into Metallica, I was like, ooh, we're onto something here. I like this guy.
These boys could go far.
Yeah, and I actually the only Trivium album I've ever bought or ever listened to properly is Crusade. Not that I'm against Trivium, just a band I've never really listened to other than what you two have played me on Cabin Night, so trying to get me into them on podcasts. I was wrong to judge them. It's so harshly like that at the beginning, because they are better than what I imagined they would be.
Can you just have on tape Rob saying he was wrong?
Yeah, you can do if you want.
Say it again. Say it a bit closer to the.
Yeah, it's to make sure we've all got it, and we can all.
I was wrong.
Oh, it can sound like that.
We'll sound like that and send it to Emma for Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm not a massive fan of them. I was, from the stuff you two have played me, on the whole, listening to everything, I'm not as keen on them as what I thought I would be. But we can get into
was what I hoped you would be.
We can get into the discussion.
Yeah, for me, they were the first extreme metal band I'd ever listened to. I want to say extreme, and I don't, because I'd listened, because my dad listened to Maiden for years, Priest for years, Black Sabbath, all sort of classic rock, or the birth of heavy metal, if you like, whatever. So I'd listened to them.
They were extreme at the time, like those bands, but they're not extreme.
But for the age I was, I think it was 2007, so it was a year, about 6 months after Crusade was released, that I first heard Trivium, and they were the first proper heavy band I got into. And they've, apart from missteps along the way, there's nothing that they've released that I can't appreciate some of. Like I said, maybe not full albums, but I love them. I mentioned it before. I'll mention it again. I'll no doubt mention it. In several seasons' time if we're still going. But there's the holy Trivium, if you like, of bands that are my top three, and that's Volbeat, Ghost, and Trivium. So they really are. We've got a nice cross section of sort of attitude towards the band here. So, well, start at the top or the bottom. depending on your perspective. Ember to Inferno, released 2003.
It was released 2003, indeed.
Hey, I got it
Rob's
right.
done research again, and we haven't.
There were no official singles released on this album.
There wasn't, because I've just looked to see if I could find something there were.
Yeah. No official singles on this one.
So were they actually signed when they did this? Was it like
Life Force Records they were signed to, but they partially produced it themselves with Jason Sukoff, I believe.
Okay.
For me, I just don't like his voice on this one. It sounds like a demo album.
It does.
The music, the instruments don't, but I think his voice.
Everything sounds alright apart from his voice.
Yeah, his voice.
His voice sounds like you said. It sounds like a guy trying to do screaming vocals.
It sounds
Which
like
is
someone's
quite
gone here.
well.
Have a go at screaming.
Yeah. 'Cause how old was he? He was like 16?
16.
Which makes me hate him a little bit. That he's, he's
Yeah.
still. To be fair, he's still got most of his career ahead of him, which is actually quite annoying.
If I was half as talented at 16 that he was at 16, I'd have, I'd have been in a
What,
good
half as
place.
talented as you are now?
Yeah, probably. And that's not a lot.
Well, you're fucked. This is the Ember to Inferno is the first time doing this album review. I have pretty much hated an album. I struggled to find, because I know we all pick 3 songs or pick songs that we find stand up. It's the first time I've struggled to get 3. I had to listen to it twice, which made me hate it even more, to try and find a third one.
I've got 3 that are possibles for me.
Yeah. Does somebody mind just writing these ones down?
I can make a note in my book.
Because like I say, I've never listened to.
In fact, no, I didn't even get a third. That's how I've just gone to one. I didn't even get a third. I listened to it twice. I couldn't get a third track.
Because I never listened to Trivium, and I have listened to all the albums in full now over the last couple of weeks, and because I'm not a fan of Trivium like you two are, you've got a sort of affinity to the band, and you've got different albums that you prefer over it. So I've had to kind of do it as what I think is a good album, what I think are good songs, and reasons or not reasons for if it's a bad song or whatever. So I enjoyed it. It's not. I wouldn't. Trivium wouldn't be a go-to band for me. I wouldn't. So I need to listen to that again. If it comes on, I don't think I'd turn it off now. I wouldn't be as opposed to it. But his voice on this one, it just brings down the whole album. It could be a really, really good album. There's lots of tracks.
And I reckon if it was re-released now, such as they did with Pillow of Serpents.
Yeah, because Pillar of Serpents, I think, is a special edition of Sin and Sentence, he put that, wasn't it? And that's not bad.
They re-released, re-recorded
just that one track, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it is as well. It's been something of a when I said to you the other day about when you said that one would rank quite low, and I was surprised at that because it's always regarded amongst Trivium fans as not necessarily the best, or not even close to the best, but certainly a good album. And on listening to it again, the songs, as in the fact that some of them, the catchiness, the way they've been written, whatever, it's all good, and it's just his voice.
But it wasn't, for me, it wasn't an enjoyable album to listen to. I found it such a slog. It's the first time doing this I've gone, well, I've got to finish it because I've got to rank it. If I was listening to it, well, I was listening to it the first time, if I was doing it for my own pleasure, I would have turned it off after the album. That's how much I really didn't like Ember to Inferno. Really, really didn't like it. Maybe if they were to re-record it and play about with it more, I might be more enamoured with it, but then it would technically be a different album.
Yeah. It won't be what, and this is a point that I'm quite willing to sort of push for you, really, is when I heard that album, I was just getting into Trivium for the first time, and they'd not long since released Ascendancy and Crusade, so those were the 3 albums that I was given. I listened back to that album and largely agree with you. It's not bottom of my list, but it's pretty close, and it's based on where I was just being introduced to Trivium at the time. It was kind of like it was all new to me, so I weren't as aware. Very much like Matt Heafy wasn't aware that he sounded shit and his voice weren't. He needed to work on his voice, he needed to develop his voice. So that weren't necessarily apparent to me listening to it. So at the time, when I said to you the other day, really, I'm shocked that it ranks so low, it was from a nostalgic approach, whereas now, having listened to that album again and listened to them all start to finish for this review, I don't massively disagree with you.
I just think the difference in in his voice from Ember to Ascendancy
There's
is a massive
huge-
jump.
Yeah.
And I think if he'd got a voice like he had on Ascendancy on Ember, they would have been bigger right from the start. They would have been like a Slipknot. That first album, everybody these are band to watch. Let's get on this.
That happened with Ascendancy
Yeah.
rather than Ember.
Yeah, and I think not that they'd have gained many more fans at that point, but I think they would have been slightly bigger than what they are now.
They've just been quicker.
Yeah.
Quicker, yeah.
So what tracks are we picking from this one? I mean, I've only got 2.
I've got 3. I've got 3 that I liked, and again, they were what I thought were good songs. One is Pillar of Serpents.
Yeah.
I thought
That would be one of mine as
fucking
well.
That's one I got. Yeah.
To Burn the Eye, and When All Light Dies were my 3 that I really liked.
That is a good shout. So the only other one you've got is If I Could
Collapse the Masses is the only other one I liked from that album.
So my 3 would be title track, Pillar of Serpents, and If I Could Collapse the Masses.
Well, I'll pick if out of the 2, Pillar of Serpents and If I Could Collapse the Masses would be my pick. So I'm writing that
I
down.
love Pillars then.
I'll have If I Could Collapse. Oh no, you've
I've got that. We can put it on twice, but we can't.
Yeah, good song. I'll have Ember to Inferno. Yeah.
The one thing that did stand out to me, and I think it becomes more apparent as we go through the albums, I don't think Matt Heafy can decide what he wants to do.
He's got a bit of a personality thing.
Yeah,
going on
because he
as a frontman.
He wants to be a metal scream lead singer. He wants to be like a heavy death metal lead singer. He wants to be a David Draymond type of singer. But then he also wants the James Hetfield bit where he's not quite at the two extremes. And I just, for me, that's what I noticed. I think that's the reason why I don't like him as much, because his voice does jump around a lot in what he's doing.
Yeah.
It may serve the song, and I'm not saying it doesn't serve the song, but it's a bit. I'm going to do this bit for this verse, and then that bit, and then this bit. And for me, if he could just pick 2 for a song and just stick with them, yeah. But I mean, it becomes more apparent. But yeah, I just wanted to just put that little point.
So Ember to Inferno, not a good album. Moving on to a far more accessible and easily digestible album.
Yes.
Ascendancy, released 2005.
Indeed, I was going to say 2 years difference between the 2 albums, and I didn't to see if you could get it.
2005. And your singles were.
Hang on. Let me do my quick research. Very quick research.
Singles were.
I'm trying to think if I can remember this. I'm trying to think what I remember videos for.
The first video, because it was actually at the end of the Ember to Inferno cycle, which they recorded and released it as a single, was Like Light to Flies.
That was the first single.
Was it? Oh, okay.
Followed by followed by Pull Harder.
Yep.
Gunshot.
Yep.
Dying in Your Arms. 4
Indeed.
singles.
All 4 singles. All released within 11 months of each other. January, Light to Flies was released, in November, Dying in Your Arms was released. Again, I don't know if, because, I mean, I'm only looking on Wikipedia, but still, Light to Flies, Pull Harder and Gunshot have all got their own page, whereas Dying in Your Arms haven't, so I don't know if that wasn't released everywhere as a single.
It was definitely released here.
It was definitely
video.
I remember the video for Dying in Your Arms.
He was just starting his getting long, weren't he, at that point? So.
Or I remember there being a video for Dying in Your Arms. I don't necessarily remember.
I remember the video for Pull Harder. And maybe Gunshot as well.
Yeah, Gunshot was a good one, because they got a lot of Trivium fans in to play an audience in that one.
Like Thunderstruck, AC/DC, that sort of type thing. I much preferred this one. Much preferred.
It's a lot of diehard Trivium fans will still refer to this as the best they've ever done.
Yeah.
There's a lot of diehard fans also that Ember into Inferno is the best they've ever done.
True. It is a much better album. There's no doubt about it. I for many years it was my favourite, until I realised what Trivium could do beyond just metalcore or core, whatever you want to call it. Good album though. Good album.
There was one song on this one that really struck me.
And I suspect you struggled with.
That really struck me.
Oh, and I think it's probably going to be one of your favourites from this album as well. Because having spoke to you both separately, I know it's one of your favourites, and to hear you say it was one of your favourites.
Yeah.
Oh, let me just see what it is.
It's quite late on in the album.
Yeah.
The Deceived.
That's my number one track from this album.
That when it come through, I'd listen to them all, and I was like, you know, they're all right, they're good. I'd heard obviously Gunshot and Pull Harder before and stuff like that, and I was like, yeah, that's all right. And then when that come on, I was like, oh yeah. This is
don't
the
listen
shit.
to the Ember to Inferno demo version of it.
Does that exist?
It was a track cut from Ember to Inferno that Deceived.
Is it on that?
It's on Ad Initia, yeah.
Yeah, so just to sort of to clarify, we're reviewing the original release of Ember, not the re-release they did a few years ago.
Which had
lots of extreme
lost tapes and some
only a Die-Hard collection.
Really bad garage stuff, which were just
Well, Garage Inc. Yeah, it's such a marked jump in quality between Ember. I mean, not just production-wise, because obviously they had a bit more money behind them, but just writing-wise, performing-wise, everything takes not even a step forward, but takes quite a big leap forward.
And it's easy to see why they became as big as they did.
Oh yeah,
after the release of that album.
Yeah, the building blocks are there. They've put them out there now.
The thing I said, the only bad part of his voice, I think, is he feels like he's not willing yet to let
push it
go.
Push it.
It always seems like he's just holding it back a little bit, and I think if he'd have let it go, or he might not have been able to at that point. He might not have learned and progressed his voice that much. But if he'd have let it go a little bit more, I would have put that album a lot higher in my list than what I did.
Yeah, it featured surprisingly lower, and that's some, especially it's easy to say, like, you know, when we're reviewing such as Disturbed with 5 albums or Ghost with 4 at that point, it kind of feels a bit better to put a band in 4th because it's only 4th, even though it's 4th in their own list of things. Whereas with a band like Trivium that's got at this point 10 albums, it feels like you're shitting on an album to put it in the bottom 5, and that's not necessarily the case. It's just that it's got to come somewhere, and these albums are so much better.
But I think again that speaks to the quality of how good they get.
Yeah,
really.
With the exception of Ember and his voice, and just to jump forward a little bit, Ember's my bottom one, and it's solely based on his voice. Solely based on his voice. My order then really is what I think is a good album. Not necessarily is it good for Trivium. Is it?
It's just an enjoyable
Would I
album.
listen to that album again?
Yeah.
So, and I would listen. I don't think they've done a bad album particularly.
I think they have.
Ember's
out of the 10, Ember's the only one I won't return to.
Yeah, probably.
The other 9, I will.
I would.
I'll throw on at any
I might
point.
listen to the.
Ad Initia.
Yeah. Might listen to that and see if that's next.
Yeah, out of curiosity, just to hear the other bits on it.
Anything.
Yeah. No, don't do that.
Don't do
that.
Yeah.
If you want to be even more disappointed with the album, then do it.
But this time, special edition disappointment.
Now with added disappointment.
Yeah, I'd argue it is a bad album. Like I say, if they re-recorded it and they did something else, it's like, yeah, but that makes it a different album. Whereas Ascendancy still holds up. It's still a fantastic album now.
I
Don't change a thing.
When we've done these other ones and we've said, you know, they haven't done a bad album, this would be the only time I would say that a band has done a bad album. Again, it's only his voice to me.
Yeah, I agree. It's only his voice. I think the songs themselves are good.
Yeah.
They're catchy. The Trivium songs.
Yeah.
Really.
It's definitely proto Trivium.
Yeah.
It's what you can see the start of what the band would become, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So what's your picks then? We've only had one, obviously.
Well, I've shot my load. You already know what my number 1 pick is, but I do have other ones. If that's
I've got 3.
I've got 3, and for some albums I could have got 5, 6. In fact, there's one album I could have just picked the entire album. But
I've only done 3 for each album, but I did struggle with some of them. I could have put more in.
Yeah.
On some.
So some I got 3 and I went, yeah, no, these are the best 3. I can't pick any more. But then other ones I was like, yeah, I could easily get quite a few more on there. So my three picks for this one were, I really like Dying in Your Arms. I know a lot of people don't, but I like Dying in Your Arms.
It's just caused them to get ever so slightly lumped in with the mid-2000s emo.
Yeah, I get that. Because it is obviously, it's not a light song, but of the songs on the album, it's probably the more radio-friendly, would you say?
Absolutely,
The Deceived, like we said, is phenomenal. And Declaration. I think Declaration's a really good song. I think it's a really, really good song. So all the D's.
All the D's.
All the D's for me.
You love all the D's.
But yeah, I think for me, I'd have to pick The Deceived.
My 3 were Gunshot. Like Flies, and then the Deceived.
So which one? Because none of your other pick are mine. So
I've got a Gunshot.
Gunshot.
I just think it was, out of the now that I know that one of my other picks was a single, I think it was a far better single.
Well, for many years, Pull Harder was my favourite Trivium song, but I feel like almost that's too obvious. So I'm going to go with the song that I return to most on that album, Drown and Torn Asunder.
Yeah, that was that. If I'd have put Fall,
I just think that opening
that's
thrash
yeah.
bit on that is unbelievable.
That would have definitely been my fourth.
But again, yeah, it's definitely another album I can go, yeah, they're three, but I could also pick that, and I could also pick this. And like I say, it's not an obvious one to pick, Pull Harder, but again, there's a reason these songs are the singles. There's a reason these songs have stayed prominent in these band set lists. It's because they're good.
I think Trivium still finished the set before Encore with Pull Harder. So.
But it's this, it's kind of, and again, it kind of goes back to gatekeeping and elitism in metal. It's like, you should always like to be ashamed, like, oh, you only like the singles. Oh, you're not a true fan if you only like the singles. Like, well, no.
Name me 3 album tracks.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, still do that anyway. But no, but it's kind of like, no. They thought this song was good enough to stand alone, and I agree with them. That's why it's a single. I mean, some bands put a single out, and you go, why the fuck did you put that out there? But for a lot of bands,
I think Trivium are guilty of that as well.
Really, what would you argue?
Later on, Catastrophist. I think that's a really shite song.
It's not on my pick for that album, but I think Catastrophist is a decent song.
Not a fan of it.
No, it's not on mine either.
Instrumentally, I like it. I suppose towards end because the drumming is just unbelievable. But anyway,
jumping ahead. That's album number 9. That one.
Jumping ahead. So we've got a song. So Ascendancy, good album. So now we move forward, but a mere year, 2006.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, that shocked me when I wrote it down. Because other than that jump, they're all roughly 2 years ish.
It's a divisive album, polarising, as they would say about certain wrestlers.
Matt Heafy's a wrestler.
Yeah. Did you know? No. If he does actually involve himself with like Japanese martial arts. Yeah. Ground fighting. He's quite heavily involved with Brazilian jiu-jitsu as well. With his family. And
weirdly, Brazilian jiu-jitsu is quite big in Japan. Yeah. make of that what you will.
Because why not? So yeah, The Crusade, a very divisive album. Some people loved it. Some people thought it were, after the brilliance of Ascendancy, was an absolute shit show.
It's, for me, just listening to it, they've gone, this is good with Ascendancy, but if we tone it back just a little bit, we'll get more people. And that's what I can hear. That's it's still not by any means light, but I mean, like Anthem, We Are the Fire,
cheesy as balls.
Cheesy, but it's fun. It's a fun
it's
song.
It's one of my picks because it was the song. It was the song that I
See if
first.
I remember singles.
Okay.
Hang on.
Get his tablet out.
Right.
There was 4 again, I believe. Or was there 5?
So I remember one single for it because I'll get onto it in a minute. But yeah.
There were, again, if they were all released here, there were 5.
5. So those would be Detonation.
Indeed, number 1.
Entrance of the Conflagration.
Indeed, number 2.
Anthem.
Indeed, number 3.
The Rising.
Indeed, number 4.
And number 5 would be Becoming the Dragon.
Indeed, number 5.
5. No, I remember when this album came out. I was a very impressionable young teen, so I was fully swept up on that bandwagon of you got to hate Trivium because of this album. Yeah. So I didn't listen to this album properly for years.
It was also on this touring cycle that you saw him as well. That you both saw him.
Yeah, I saw him supporting Maiden. No,
yeah.
I didn't.
To be fair, I only saw the last couple of songs.
But I was with the group of people going, "Oh, fucking Trivium sucks." I was going, "Yeah." I was impressed upon just getting into metal. So, oh, this is what everyone,
I was with a group
does.
of people that really, really didn't like shouty, screaming metal. Mr. Revel, and didn't want to see them. So we compromised and I said, well, let's go in just to end of their set, last 10, 15 minutes of their set, and I can at least see a bit of them, and then...
Didn't you use the pit to get to the front
as
well?
I can't remember what they played before Pull Harder. Pull Harder was the last song. And I was about halfway down the standing bit and they opened up a big pit and then they played Pull Harder and I ran halfway around the pit and stopped to get to the front for Maiden.
No, the only song I remember hearing when this album came out was Anthem,
Yeah.
And I think I actually really remember liking it, and then everyone going, "Oh no, it's shit, it's shit," and I was going, "Oh, it must be shit then," because everyone else says it's shit. And then I listened to it fully for the first time in years. I think first time ever. I'd say maybe 3-4 years ago.
It's a good album.
I was sitting there going, "It's not that bad. It's
Still
fine."
the only Trivium album that I have paid money to buy. But
Why we've stolen all the others?
yeah. Well, Spotify.
It's a good album. It was part of that initial 3 albums, so I was into it, even though it was noticeably different. The only thing I would say now, looking back, as a kind of point to say, maybe it's not as good as some of the others, is I found instrumentally that it was really polished. To quote someone who shall remain nameless, a bit overproduced, instrumentally speaking. It was very, music itself was, I don't know, very radio friendly, I suppose.
Yeah.
See, now it's interesting you say that because I
Not on all of the tracks, such as To the Rats, for example, is thrashy as hell. But
I think, I don't know. Maybe when we listened to it this time, it was with a sense of hindsight, and a sense that I listened to all the other albums as well, as I knew what Trivium goes on to do. But I found it a really frustrating album. I found it frustrating in the sense that it's like, oh yeah, but if you just did it that way instead of, if you just did the song a bit like that and you just you did something there, because I know they can do that.
That's what I'm like with all the albums. If you just do that bit there, or drop that bit.
I remember you saying, listening to Ascendancy, that you wished he'd just let go with his voice.
Yeah, that feeling, if you just tweaked that little bit, that's how I am with all the albums.
That's Trivia, Crusade rather is. I find that it's not the worst album, because of course it's not, but I find it the most frustrating album for me. I was like, just tweak it slightly. Because I'm listening to it, listening to it, knowing what my favourite album sounds like. It's like, but if you just did this, it would be higher, it would be closer to that.
For me, I've got a bit of an emotional attachment because it is the only Trivium album I've bought.
Yeah.
Having said that, it still features quite low because they are by far better albums that Trivium have done.
There's for me quite a sizable jump between my bottom album and the rest of the list.
I think it sounds harsh to say this, but I think it was a step back.
No, I think that's fair
musically, because they seem to have toned things down or produced things a little bit better.
It weren't as technical, were it?
No.
That's what all the
And
stuff is.
Whether
or maybe
it was,
I'm not a musician. Maybe it was just as technical.
Yeah, maybe it was
in
more
sound.
technical. But yeah,
in interest of balance, your opinion is still valid.
it did feel like a step back, particularly when they move on to Shogun. That feels like a natural progression from Ascendancy, whereas it dips with Crusade and then comes back up again. Yeah. And I wonder what could have gone, like you say, if they'd have just done this, it could have been a little bit to keep that rise going. I mean, it obviously worked for them because they got a Maiden tour off it, and they got lots of stuff off it.
And Maiden always like to go out on tour with what they think to be the next big band. They don't like to tour with established artists. No. So he did wonders for Trivium because they basically went from strength to strength after that, didn't they? So at the time, I was a little prick. I was at the time, I'm a big prick now, but I was a little prick then.
You're a big prick with a little prick.
It was the whole Nickelback debate, wasn't it? The whole Nickelback debate.
Yeah.
Whether you should or shouldn't like Nickelback.
And that's another one of them. I was literally saying this to my mum yesterday. I said, as much as everybody likes to rag, they weren't that bad. They're not that bad.
They're still not. I was driving back from Birmingham yesterday with Hayley, and I've just got a place. I've just dumped loads of music on, and a bit of Nickelback came up. For like Silver Side Up, Nickelback came up. I was like, there's still good albums, no matter what. Silver Side Up and Long Road especially are fantastic albums.
They do. Nickelback. I mean, I know we're not reviewing Nickelback. I do feel they've become a bit of a parody of themselves.
They have. Rockstar is they don't realise that is the ultimate. Yeah. He has cut his hair and he has changed his name.
Yes,
because he came up 2 or 3 years ago. And, oh no, it's not Kroger, it's Kruger.
Yeah,
it's like you have literally cut your hair and now changed your name.
Squidward. He'll always be Squidward to me.
Hey,
do you not think he looks like Squidward cosplaying as Chad Kroger?
I mean, I do now.
You know when we're talking about sound bites for trailers? That's we need to remember what bit that is at, and that's the new bit. Anyway,
I'll cut it out and make it separate.
Chadwood. Okay, so songs from the Crusade then.
I've been first past a couple of times.
Okay.
Good and Robert.
So, I I can't read my own writing. I know which one it is. Entrance of the Conflagration was my first pick of that. I really like that one. Anthem because
this is the start of Trivium using ridiculous titles as well, isn't
I'm
it?
going to say Inception of the Bleeding Skies on Ember to Inferno.
Yeah, but they were wanky. Well,
and then the last one, which Jake's already mentioned, because it's trashy as hell, is To the Rats.
Yeah, it would be my To the Rats, Becoming the Dragon, and probably Entrance. Yeah.
Okay, so I've got Anthem, which is just it's fun. I've got Becoming the Dragon, but I've also got I can't read my writing now. That says Tread the Floods, but I don't know if that's
That's right.
It is right. Okay, I was like Tread the Floods. I mean, yeah, I really like Tread the Floods.
Good song.
Yeah.
Good song.
So what's your first pick, Roberto?
I'm not going to pick it. I'm not going to pick Anthem. To the Rats.
I'll have Becoming the Dragon then.
You know what? Fuck it, you haven't picked it, but I am. I'm putting Anthem on.
It needed to be.
But
It's
I'm not a
fun.
Trivium fan, so I feel like if I pick it, the elitist, the gatekeeping.
It's a it's
You
a
only like the singles. Well,
fuck off. But I say no. It's like you said with Gunshot. The hey, hey.
Yeah.
Same with Anthem. It's,
you mean the James Hetfield?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
People need to remember that. Is that metal can be fun as
we
well.
used to laugh when the song came out. It was basically the rest of the band walked into Matt Heafy's dressing room and he was just stood naked in front of a mirror with a James Hetfield mask on going, yeah, Metallica!
Metallica Power League.
It's weird though, because other than that one song, I don't really get the Metallica link.
It's been very overstated as the years have gone. It's because it's like you say, it's a more radio-friendly album than Ascendancy, and because they were compared to Metallica.
And he does like Metallica.
Yeah.
It's probably a
And they kind of, you know, his favourite, he had that flying V that had the horns and stuff. He's like, they're going, yeah, metal, because like, yeah, it's a bit stereotypical in places.
What were the name on Guitar Hero? The Lars Umlaut.
Yes.
The metal guy.
Yeah, it was that. Yeah, basically put corpse paint on Matt, and he's the guy from Guitar Hero.
Okay, good shout. So, I believe we're on 2008 now.
Indeed we are.
And Shogun. This is the only point I'll get upset is if this features low on either of your lists.
Thank you. Good night.
I don't care about anything else. Shogun is, in my opinion, a perfect. They've got other perfect albums. Don't take it as me saying it's their only perfect album. But it's such a good album. Maybe it encompasses a lot of what I like about Trivium. I think it's the first time that Trivium did what I love for Trivium, and that's have a good combination of the harsh, the screaming, the more thrashy, but also the clean sung stuff, coupled with the fact that it was technically a more impressive album than anything they'd done before, with the inclusion of the 6-string guitars.
Oh, is it? I don't know.
And on top of all that,
bass. All guitars are 6-string.
7-string then, I don't know.
Okay.
You said it and I didn't. But I went, oh right, okay. That must be how guitars are.
I was on about Paolo, clearly. More strings than
normal.
But all of that was brought together by the subject matter of all the songs. I just love as you know already, the historical / mythological theme on every single song.
Yeah. They do that. Do they theme not as a thematic album, but do they theme every album as such?
There's I'd say a mood.
Yeah.
For every album.
But I'd argue Shogun's possibly the only fully themed album.
Yeah.
they've
But
ever done.
it covers several different
Concept
mythologies
album is
and
probably the better term.
Yeah,
Really.
yes, I mean,
But
it's not being a concept.
It's
not
got
a
like
story
Greek
from-
mythology stuff in there. It's got modern tyrannical stuff in there. It's got.
It's the
not,
closest
it's
they've-
not one.
It's the closest they've come though.
Yeah.
Not like Yom's
But
Viking
then-
that follows.
The opening track is Japanese law. So.
Yeah.
A lot of it's Japanese, isn't it? Though.
Come on then, keep up your record. What's your singles?
Kirishite Gorman, Into the Mouth of Hell We March.
Two.
How many were there? 4?
4. And you've two for two.
Down from the Sky and
3 for 3.
Throes of Perdition.
4 for 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Into the Mouth of Hell is Homer's Odyssey. Yeah, Kirishite Gorman, I believe, is the only. Oh, and Shogun at the end. Those are the only 2 Japanese law ones on the album.
Oh, I always got to hear that Into the Mouth was.
Scylla and Charybdis is
Greek.
Greek mythology.
Like Callisto's.
Callisto to a Star in Heaven is Greek.
Yeah.
Yeah. Homer's Odyssey is obviously Greek. Down from the Sky is modern take on politics. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, Prometheus and the Crucifix is Greek. It's mainly Greek then, mainly Greek mythology.
Which is weird because it's obviously a Japanese or Chinese.
Yeah, it's Japanese
Yeah.
writing on the front. Yeah.
Yeah. That obviously all harkens back to Matt's heritage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is Matt is
Okinawa, I think.
Yeah.
Japanese.
I
I hope I'm not sounding ignorant with all that. I hope he's
Yeah,
Japanese.
normally this is just a special occasion.
is he not? Has he not got? Is he not part Greek as well?
Probably, possibly. I think it was, if anything, more of a passion.
Yeah.
The Greek side.
Yeah.
But it might be. I don't know. Certainly, the Japanese stuff is.
I mean, I can have a look on Wikipedia,
Heritage.
but as we know from the YouTube
Heritage
channel
based.
Fact or Fiction, they sometimes get the name wrong.
Yes.
His granddad Brian. He's Japanese.
Yeah.
That famous Japanese name, Brian.
Brian. Well, yeah.
Shogun was the first album I thought they showed how good they could really be. Like they really started. I'm not saying Ascension Crusade were bad, but it was first that real. Again, another bit of a leap forward. I thought to show how.
It definitely was from Crusade because, like I said, I think Crusade took a step back.
Yeah, and I think they took that step forward again to sort of show, like, okay, thematically we're going to do this, and sort of, and actually thematically throughout the entire album, not necessarily the actual stories they were telling, but the sound and the overall feel of it. You know, we're going to all step forward because Crusade's again. Maybe that's why I was a bit found Crusade so frustrating is that it's quite disjointed, whereas Shogun felt like it was going all that. And in fact, so that was quite nice. I remember listening to Shogun in the car, so obviously in the car list for CD, it just goes back to the beginning. Sort of the echoes from Kirstu, I can never say it. Him, Dave Gorman.
That guy.
From Dave Gorman to Shogun, the title track. There's lovely echoes and repeating themes and stuff like that, which I think is brilliant. Which is lovely bookends the album, which I didn't really notice until the CD started again. I was like, oh, okay. So I quite like that. I thought it was a nice little throw. It proves they really
lyrics
thought about
in
it.
Shogun, time will not heal all your mistakes. It's the opening.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. There's some nice callbacks between the two songs and stuff like that. Which so Shogun for me is the first great album Trivium did. So there you go. Don't be too disappointed. Yeah, it's the first great album I think they did.
When I said to you that I want him to let his voice go, and you said wait till the Shogun, I still don't get it.
Not even on like Insurrection.
In Waves,
Okay.
is the album for me where
it started.
Where I think
Okay.
is definitely a lot more on this one. He's definitely thought, you know what, I can just push it a little bit. But I think in Waves as an album is where he goes, you know what, fuck it. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
This is where I'm going to let it go properly. I've teased it. It's coming, but here it is.
Yeah. Okay. That's like that. Just after solo and Insurrection, it's basically death metal.
Yeah, but I've noticed that with a lot of the drums, it's very tech death or death or whatever the drumming that goes on in there. I'd got, again, now looking at the singles, two of my picks are the singles, or two of the singles. One that you have played before for me is torn between Skeller and Charybdis, which I do like. That's my other pick. And I'm gonna say this now. I've avoided saying it so far. I mentioned it in the car on the way down. I think at some point in Skeller and Charybdis, he's got a very Michael Paulson from Volbeat sound and delivery to his voice. I'm sure people know by now, I do not like Michael Paulson's voice.
That's surprising,
isn't it?
That's really surprising.
I know
you can be telling us in a minute now you like thrash as well. Fucking hell.
And I think if you take away what's annoying for me as of Michael Paulson's voice, you get the Matt Heafy voice off.
Filter it, basically.
Yeah. And if Matt Heafy was to turn up in Volbeat, that is a band I would go and watch.
Yeah.
And get rid of Michael Paulson. I don't need him anymore. Sorry, Michael. Although having said that, I still do want to do this review for Volbeat. I think
that could be fun. I think
because I'm really not a fan. You really are a fan,
and I'm kind of
in
indifferent. There's a couple of albums I like by Volbeat, but on the whole,
and even
kind of
if we don't agree on an album, ranking order on that one. Jake wins anyway because you've got to listen to all of Albie's albums.
Yeah, Jake
This was always his plan, you know that. That's the only reason we started this Cabin Night podcast, so you could have to
I'd
listen
have to listen
to
to
Voldy.
Voldy.
It's the only reason he started.
Yeah, I don't think he sounds like a carbon copy of him. I just think there are.
I
There's
don't.
qualities, there's absolutely
I
qualities,
don't
that's
hear it.
there.
It's a very
genuinely don't.
rich voice. The delivery might help.
There's a pattern.
It's
in
a very
rhythm
which is a very Volbeat type thing to do.
I'd have to listen to it again, but I can't bring it to mind. Let's
Yeah.
put it that
I'll-
way.
after this episode.
Yeah, okay.
When,
Yeah,
we've,
play-
done,
play-
when we've done it, I'll try and find the bit I was referring to.
But in my head, all I've got is now Michael Paulson singing Trivium. Put harder things of your mouth. You know what? Fuck it. I want to hear that.
Good impression.
Yeah, well, I preferred that much more. This is definitely one of the albums where I could have picked probably 6.
Yeah. There's quite.
I could have picked quite a few.
There's not a bad song for me.
There's probably not a bad song, but
No, there's not.
There was
it
songs
was
that I
harder
wasn't as keen on.
picking 3 for this album actually.
yeah.
Yeah, to just narrow it to 3 was actually quite difficult.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
Well, I'll go first then. So, Shogun.
That's your.
That's my
so
pick.
the whole album you're putting shows.
It's because
Every track, but
One long track split into.
I love Into the Mouth of Hell. I really, it's probably would have been my second pick, and that is He Who Spun the Furies. I think that contains, as I've said many times before, the heaviest thing Trivium have ever done, the heaviest passage, and that's to quote Metal Hammer. Same one when I bought the album review for, and I was going on holiday. I was sat in an airport, and I remember reading about He Who Spun the Furies, and it said this song contains possibly the heaviest passage Trivium have ever written, and I listened to it and was blown away. But yeah, that would be my second pick, and then probably Down from the Sky maybe, or Into the Mouth of Hell.
I mean, my 3 picks are Into the Mouth of Hell, Like Callisto to Star, and Dave Gorman.
As it shall now be known.
It's Dave Gorman. I still remember where, obviously, famously we talk about where we were when you first played me that one.
Down from the Sky.
Down from the Sky, thank you. Yeah, it's that memorable for the name. But I also remember where we were when I first heard Into the Mouth of Hell. We were in the Sportsman,
Sportsman as it was, yeah.
and you put it on the jukebox. I go, oh, this is quite good. And it just went, right, be careful. Here's an Iron Maiden suddenly pop up in this song. And you go, what? And then suddenly, the do-do-do. I was like, oh, sorry, this song is now Hallowed Be Thy March. Right.
Into the Mouth of Be Thy Name.
Yeah. I think I'm picking Into the Mouth. I mean, Like Callisto is a very, very close second
It's
for
a
me.
rough subject though, isn't it? Like Callisto to a Star in Heaven.
It's a good song. Like
It
is a good song.
but
That,
it's-
that one or He Who Spun the Furies would have probably been 4 and 5 on mine. Throws a Petition. I know it's the thing,
Those
but
Petitions are such a good song.
I think that's one of the ones where it starts
Yeah,
to go.
yeah.
It does it a bit in Between Skull and Charybdis, but I think Throws Position is one where you can see where he can go to.
Yeah.
I still think he's. I don't know. I say holding off. I don't know if. I mean, it's probably not the correct musical term, but I just feel like he's not willing to let it. Maybe he doesn't want to. I don't know. It just how it seems to me. With the music that's playing, I feel like he should let it go a bit more. I know he does his singing bit as well and all that sort of stuff, but I don't know. I just feel like when he's screaming, he should let it go. And it never seems, on most parts, very guttural. It always seems very throaty. And I don't know if that's what I don't.
I can
like.
hear that. No,
It was always thoughty, which is why he's messed his
Yeah.
voice up
Yeah.
so much. He's had a lot of surgery on his throat.
Yeah.
Because why he's screaming now is very different to
Yeah,
what
yeah.
it used to
he
be.
needs the
Like.
support from that. He needs that support from the diaphragm.
From the core. From the core, Matthew. So yeah, that's Shogun.
I think we're all pretty consensus. I think we've all got a pretty consensus on that one. I think that's yeah.
Good, I'm glad.
You're happy now.
I don't care whatever you say.
It's not
about
number
any-
one though.
No,
No,
that's fine.
it's not
Doesn't
number
have to be.
I will say, as we get into it, sort of my top 3, not are interchangeable, but they're very close together. They're very close together. My top 3.
Yeah,
very.
mine-
On another day, it might change, but top 3.
Mine are very close together.
I
So
think other than my bottom 2, I think they're all very close, and they could move. My top three could suddenly become. I could get four into my top three, and what?
There's my very bottom one. There's a jump, quite a big one, like a chasm. Is it obvious I really don't like that album? Then the next 3 or 4, Shogun. No, the next 3 or 4 are kind of interchangeable as well, and then the top half are kind of interchangeable as well.
My rankings very much eras.
Okay.
So that takes us then to 2011.
Indeed, it does.
That's all year I had that holiday. Shit.
In waves. In waves, right.
Hang on, I'm just gonna pull them up.
Well, In Waves was the opening single.
In Waves what?
Built to Fall.
Built to Fall was number 2.
Black.
Number 3.
I didn't know they released that as a single, Black.
And last single were Watch the World Burn.
Indeed it was.
Oh, I always thought Dust Dismantled was a single.
It never was.
Actually released all over a year. May 21st, 11 was In Waves, and then Watch the World Burn was November 16, 2012. Quite a long cycle for single releases. Did they do a big album cycle on this one? Longer than normal.
Not that I remember, but the build up to the album release was massive. I remember the build up for this album, the release date.
I remember the build up for Shogun because they'd got a. Remember Virgin Records in next Fortress Square?
Yeah.
I used to go there on my dinner, and they got it pre-order and all that sort of stuff. And I remember Shogun coming out. They got all posters.
That was a good shot, Virgin.
It was.
That was a really good shot.
I liked that shot.
All DVDs upstairs and all CDs
downstairs. Yeah.
Back wall for metal section. Yeah.
It's always in the back corner of every fucking shop you go into. But it's also one of the biggest sections. It's also the one they need to restock for working. Which I'm going to name shall remain nameless at the record store I used to work for. In case we get sponsored. But it was always in the back corner. But it was always the bit that had to be restocked the most because everyone just bought the CDs. Because CDs is one of the few. Metal is one of the few genres where physical media is still quite prominent. People want to buy, as
people enjoy this
displayed behind the microphone stand. Although it's not as impressive as your CD collection used to be, because you downscaled quite a bit.
We have downscaled quite a bit. But that's just for space, though. That's just purely.
I mean, you can see I'm fucking run out of space. I mean, to be fair, this bookcase has got a lot of everything on it.
Yeah.
To be fair, but yeah, I loved In Waves.
It's very good. It's one actually that when it came out, I enjoyed Dust Dismantled as one of the greatest Trivium songs ever, and I enjoyed In Waves because it was quite simple. Really, it was a bit slammy in places, I think. But the rest of the album, when it first came out, I take it or leave it. I was so indifferent to it. But having listened to it in recent years, it's absolutely flown up the rankings.
I think. From Shogun through the rest of the albums now, there's almost like you say a slammy or a gent type in the guitars. I noticed. Not a lot. It's not there a lot, but there is a bit of a gent or degent or whatever you want to call it.
I don't know how to fucking pronounce that.
Yeah, whatever it is, I do get that little bit. Emma said I can't remember which one we were listening to, but Emma said she got quite an industrial vibe off one of them when we come back from Newquay.
Yeah, okay.
That might be Vengeance Falls. It's quite a bit of Vengeance Falls. That's a bit sort of
a bit little, but
Disturbed's got.
It has. There's an element to it. To be fair, but In Waves was sort of the gateway for me. Because this is when I started to listen to them again. This is sort of the gateway into more heavy things for me. Because I got into them. I got like, okay, this is heavier than what I normally listen to, and I sort of opened up that doorway to other things that are even heavier than the Trivium.
But I think it is a good gateway because he's still got that nice, clean, and he's a great singer. His vocals are great, and all this Twitch stuff that he does, and he's covered Africa and all sorts, and he's got a really good voice. But yet he's got that heaviness to his voice as well, which makes it a good gateway, I think, to get into heavier stuff. Well, I'm glad I've only picked one of the singles on this one.
I think I've only picked one of the singles.
I picked In Waves.
Yeah.
In Waves is great. Dust Dismantled again.
Dust Dismantled.
There's the on the Dust Dismantle bit, there's a bit underneath it as well. The more of a guttural growl underneath the Dust Dismantle bit, which I really like.
What's that proper bit there?
Yeah, well, under that there's another one. I don't know if you can hear it. If you listen to it, there's I don't know who it would be. Would it be Paolo? Would it
be Corey?
But if you listen to it, you can hear Matt do the Dust Dismantle bit really low. But then there's also a underneath it.
Yeah, it's definitely Corey that. Yeah.
And it fits really well. But you're only listening to the top bit, but you can hear it underneath it.
Yeah, Paolo's the harmony guy.
Yeah,
he's a singer.
It was quite a tumultuous time for Trivium because they trained. It was the first time they changed drummer, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because Travis.
Travis was the original drummer, and I think it was Nick Agostino who took over.
Because he was their drum. Again, I'm trying to remember the interview. He was their drum tech going, "Oh yeah, I can play Trivium," and kind of got into the band that way, didn't they? Yeah.
I'll never forget seeing Trivium for the first time since Travis left, and they opened the set with Drown and Turn Sunder at Rock City.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget because the drum part is so integral in the starting of the main rhythm bit. I'll never forget Matt stood there with his hands ready to go, and he looked back to watch what Nick were doing before he started it, just to make sure that they were coming in at the right point. With Travis, didn't have to. They'd known each other for years, and they figured out each other. He were watching to see at what point he did the thing before he started.
Yeah.
Literally looked back like that.
Didn't he also break the skin on one of the drums? You said as well.
That's a new guy. That's
oh, is it?
Yeah.
We'll get to him when we get to him.
Oh yes.
Oh, when he was too excited.
Alex Bend. Oh,
He broke the drums.
what a drummer.
My third pick, and I think was, for me, the best song on the album, Chaos Reigns.
Chaos Reigns.
I really, really liked that one. And out of all the songs, when I've gone back to it, that's like so I've listened to all the albums and I've gone back and listened to tracks just to make sure that the ones I'm picking are the ones that I wanted.
Ones, yeah.
And Chaos Reigns is the one that I listened to the whole way through.
So is that your pick?
That'd be my pick.
Chaos Reigns.
That'd be my pick.
See, I want Caustic Are the Ties, but I know that's one of yours. So
That was four. That was number 4 on my list.
Skyline Severance would be another one of yours.
Oh, that's not. That's not. Skyline Severance is good, but that was maybe 4 or 5. Skyline.
Because I know that you've got a lot you would pick other than Dust Dismantled. I'm going for Dust Dismantled.
Yeah, Built to Fall.
Built to Fall. It's great. Again,
all the melodic ones. I love Black. I love Built to Fall. Watch the World Burn.
Black I weren't as keen on. Black.
Yeah.
But again, it had gone a little bit too far into the melodic.
It's another album that I could have put loads of tracks on. My pick is Caustic Are the Ties That Bind. I've always loved that song. Always loved that. Again, when it breaks down, it gets quieter, and the guitar comes back in. It's a really twiddly guitar solo, and it's just good. It's just really good. But also, in Waves you mentioned, but also like Inception of the End. I think it was, yeah.
I really liked the intro at the beginning, Capsizing the Sea.
Capsizing the Sea, yeah, because that's how they always start the encore with Capsizing the Sea into Waves.
Yeah. Is that in the encore? In Waves?
In Waves, yeah, it's opens encore, yeah.
Well, I thought that had been in set somewhere.
Now, I've actually got the special edition of In Waves.
Movie beer.
I do. And they do a cover of Slave New World. That's it. That's really
Sepultura, yeah.
Their cover of Slave New World is really good.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah, I was like, oh, this is really good. I can't put that on. That's on the special edition. I can't put that one.
Right.
But yeah, so that's In Waves. Yep.
So what is going to prove to be another relatively polarising album now, Vengeance Falls. I did not like this album.
Come on, what year?
Yeah.
13.
What were the singles?
Brave This Storm, Strife, Through Dirt and Blood and Bone, and Villainy Thrives.
I have surprised myself, and I really liked this album.
You really like it?
Really like. I had got mixed up though. I thought that Silence in the Snow was because he'd blown his voice out. He sings more on it, and I thought that was more the David Draymond one. But I really liked this one. I could have possibly picked most of the songs on this album.
Wow.
I really liked it. I think this might have been the industrial one that Emma.
Yeah, I must say it was without the. And for years it was always the David Draymond aspect of it. So for a bit of background there, this album was produced by David Draymond. And on certain songs on the album, it certainly shows as well.
Yes, it does.
It definitely shows. To Believe being the most obvious one for me. But yeah, having listened to it again recently without that sort of prejudice in place, it's certainly a better album than I remember. It's still not a good album in my opinion. But
No, I think going sort of listening back to it sort of with fresh ears, as it were. It's fine. It's fine. The album's fine. It's not spectacular by any standards, but
Just based on this will be an
interesting.
This will be an interesting one we rank.
Yeah, I think it will. But I think I remember listening back to it going, it's not that, because obviously you built in your head, oh, it's the Draven. A bit like Crusades, like, oh, we know it's the bad album. And it's again, oh, this is the David Draven album. Going, it's fine. You can hear the David Draven influence, of course you can.
Yeah.
But it's a fine. I think it's a well written, well produced album. I think
I saw them on this tour at Well, we didn't watch them. We were walking around at Download, and I don't know what song it was that they were playing at the time, and I just went, when did Trivium go Disturbed? And it obviously showed in the live stuff as well, because it must have been one off Vengeance Falls, because obviously that one does sound a bit more disturbed. But yeah, I really liked it. I surprised myself actually, because I remember calling this Transformers album because it just took us at front.
Yeah, because
it came out around that same time as Transformers and all that, and I'm just thinking, oh God, I hope it's not like that. I think I could have my three could have quite easily been the opening three. I think that's the best opening three songs Trivium have ever put.
So it opens with what?
Brave This Storm, Vengeance Falls,
Strife. Yeah.
I think that's the best 3-song opener they've ever done.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they do flow quite nicely into each other. Yeah.
More so for that, because they're all very of a similar vein, and they all flow really well.
Yeah.
I really liked Through Blood and Dirt and Bone and Villainy Thrives. I weren't too keen on the last two.
See that Wake is one of my favourite tracks from the album. Wake.
So there's one where I struggled to pick three. I didn't pick three ultimately.
Is this because you don't like them, or there's more on it?
Yeah, I like Disturbed. There's nothing wrong with that. I do like Disturbed.
Disturbed and Trivium.
Call me a simpler man. I like my Trivium to sound like Trivium, but my Disturbed to sound like Disturbed. So that element was jarring for me. So in terms of song, I would agree Brave This Storm was a good opener. So that would probably be my pick.
You're picking Brave the Storm. Okay.
Yeah. Vengeance Falls is good. I'd say Strife, but only because I've seen it live a few times and it's not nearly as jarring within the context of the album.
Yeah.
It's quite, I think that's the thing, and Strife's the song where it's most apparent, but I think the overproduction on his voice is ridiculous. It's so... And it's fine because we were having a lot of vocal difficulties at the time, which is why things were changed up in a big way again, like a tonal shift from the previous album. It was really heavy, whereas this one weren't quite as heavy, a bit more vocally not as heavy. I think it shows that his voice were struggling a bit, which is why the in post-production there's a bit more on there than you would expect to hear. So I think that's more so than the Drayman stuff is the reason why I rank this album as low as I do.
Okay.
But yeah, Brave This Storm, still a good song.
Like I said, I know you didn't like the last two tracks, but I really like Wake, The End Is Nigh. I really, really like it. The other one I would pick is Incineration, The Broken World. I think, in fact, that's going to be my pick actually. Incineration. I think it's a fine. It's a fine. Oh yeah, it's not spectacular, I'd argue, but it's not
offensive enough to be a really
I don't think it does. I don't think it does enough to make me go, oh my god, it's a horrible album. You know, because it's not. I mean, I'm not saying it's high up on my list, but yeah, it's not the bottom either.
It's quite high on mine.
My placing of it now is based on my enjoyment of it as an album, much as you've said, where it fits really in terms of what you enjoy. And I just don't think for me there's enough on it. Before, if you'd asked me last week, it was that shit David Draymond album. I'm not interested. But it was now. I've given it a fresh listen, and I think it just fits there because I like everything else so much more.
Yeah, I think my listing is not that I've put anything lower down because it should be lower down.
So what would your pick be? Well, pick rather for your one song.
Through Blood and Dirt and Bone.
Through Blood and Dirt and a Bone. So that's interesting because just on the whole, if I was to say true albums you'd like, I would not put that up there.
I did get confused. I thought Silence in the Snow was in my head was the
Yeah.
David Draymond one because of
Okay.
the sing. He's much more clean vocals in it because he was struggling with his voice. No, I think possibly now knowing that that's the Disturbed Trivium album. I like it because thinking back now when I listen to it in the car, it does have the aggression a bit more of the Disturbed stuff that's in there. I know he hadn't written the songs of them, has he? He just produced it, but
Yeah.
I was quite surprised actually by it because I remember when we saw him at Download, I was like, oh, this sounds terrible.
I am now interested with the next album, though, considering that you thought the next album was the David Draymond album. What you thought of that one? It's going to be interesting.
I got the order mixed up. I thought these two albums were the way around. I really thought that Silence in the Snow came before Vengeance Falls. Yeah. Obviously not, but yeah.
As you have mentioned, next is Silence in the Snow, 2015.
Yes, was indeed single.
So Silence in the Snow again was the opening single.
Yep.
Blind Leading the Blind.
Yep.
Until the World Goes Cold.
Yep.
And I keep wanting to say Rise Above the Tides or Dead and Gone.
Oh, we might get one wrong. Which are you picking?
Dead and Gone.
Shit, he's got all four.
What an album. On repeated listens, such a good album.
Okay. I'm going now.
It's a good. It is a really good album. It's weird. It's now I'm not listening to it. It's really weird. So it's as good as I remember, but it's also not as good as I remember, which is a weird balance. It's like, oh, I forgot how much I listened to this album, but then when I was putting it into my rankings of the other albums, I was like, oh, it's actually not as high as I thought it was going to be compared to how some of the other albums are. So it's sort of that weird juxtaposition with this album. Because I remember loving it when it first came out, Silence in the Snow.
Yeah.
I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Again, for me, I've been not really listening to Trivium as a whole band before. I've only listened to these albums probably once through and then just listened to tracks just to pick out the right ones. So I actually remember really liking it, but I think, much like I said on the Disturbed one, there's far too much melodicness in it. And not that can't be Trivium, it can be because they've done it. It's not what I like about Trivium. So for me, it ranks fairly low.
Yeah.
But again, as an album, it's only because I prefer the other ones. With the exception of Ember, which is bottom and will never move from bottom.
Yeah.
The rest could move, and
I feel like that could be for mine.
I wouldn't be as adamant about putting that one number 1 or that one number 7 because that's where it should be. They will move if I'm willing to move out. I just the order they're in is the order I think are the better album for me. So therefore, it does sit quite low. I did really like it when I listened to it.
I think it's relatively low on mine, even though it is a good album.
A nostalgia trip for me because, and it's something that'll come up in another episode, I'm sure. But this whole, you remember where you were and what you were doing when certain albums came out. So this one came out at a particularly happy time. So there's much of that. I'm wondering if they released it now, for example, on back of what they've just released with In the Court of the Dragon and It's in the Sentence and what have you, whether I'd feel the same way. But certainly at that point, I thought, I love it.
Yeah.
And I like heavier Trivium over melodic Trivium. But
I think it was just too much of the melodic.
Yeah, it was all the entire album.
Yeah. It didn't have the light and shade I felt this album.
If they'd have chucked in, any song off previous or any style of song off the previous album that was heavier. So do two of the melodic ones. I know we're struggling with his voice, which makes it more difficult to say. It's just a melodic album. So I feel like I'm shitting on Matt because he perhaps couldn't do the stuff at that point, or was trying not to do it. But
fun fact: since it's Bloodstock this very weekend,
Don't depress us with the fact we're not there.
Silence in the Snow and Blind Leading the Blind were debuted during their headlining set at Bloodstock.
I did not know that. So
also a fun fact: Snowfall.
How did they open?
No, it's written by Ishan, whatever it's called here, from Emperor.
Of Emperor.
Was it?
Yeah, because it says on here track listing all tracks were written by Trivium except Snowfall by Isham.
So that's his second collaboration with Trivium then.
This is all.
No, that's his first.
Yeah,
His second.
and then is that Ibraki?
No, that's not Trivium.
Is that-
no,
I
I say,
that's
what's his other? I said, I knew about it, Bracket. What's his other?
He did the intro for Indigo the Dragon.
Oh, he did 10, did he? Or X, which is 10, isn't it? Yeah.
The band premiered Silence in the Snow and Blind in the Blood on their headlining performance at Bloodstock.
So,
I just said that.
so with Bloodstock just after the album's release or just before?
Before, I believe.
Silence in the Snow was released July 30th,
So it would have been.
and Blind in the Blind was the 13th. So
so
that was either not come out yet or had literally just come out.
Live debut then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it must be one of the first gigs they did basically after the album was released. It must have been.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
So tracks of the album then.
It's this was hard for me. Silence in the Snow is a great
That's
song.
one of my picks. I've got Silence in the Snow.
It's a good windmilling song. It's a really good. If you
Yeah.
had the hair, it's a really good.
All right, let's not talk about hair.
You know what?
Jacob,
In this
little
heat,
challenge.
I'm envying you two. Your heat's escaping. Mine's fucking traps.
I did like Snowfall into Silence in the Snow.
Yeah, it's really
that would
good.
have been
I would. It's not my favourite, but I was close to wanting to pick Snowfall as one of my tracks.
What, by itself?
Yeah.
No.
I did really like that one, and it worked really well.
I
And
just
then
love it.
going into Silence
I
in
do
the Snow.
think this is their best themed album because it's so desolate.
Yeah.
It's like every single song feels like you're in frigging snow.
Yeah,
So,
it just.
apart from the songs that are about water.
I don't want to say apocalyptic because that's not the right term.
Very bleak.
It is, it is.
Album.
Yeah, it's a very what's the word I'm thinking of? Nihilistic
Yeah.
look at the world. I feel this
What-
album.
What I noticed was, in all other albums up to this point, you can almost hear the bleed through of instruments through different things. This one, they all seem to be isolated tracks. Not that I mean that's a bad thing, but again, when you go outside when it's snowing, it is deathly silent outside.
Yeah.
And like there was no music bleed. It was there's the guitar, there's the drums, there's the bass, there's the vocals, and they were all like they've been recorded.
So a very clean album.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No bleed, which would make sense with the snow and the
okay.
desolation and all that sort of thing. Of the
I hadn't even thought of it like that. I don't think I like that.
it was. I really noticed it. I thought, like Jay said, it sounds like you're possibly in the snow, and when you think back to when it is snowing and it's silent outside, and there's no
I do
dogs
think it is
barking.
their best themed album. Although I don't particularly class the theme as one of my favourite themes Trivium have done, as a whole album, that is their best.
Again, I never really thought about it like that as a theme because, like I said earlier, I thought Shogun was the best themed album. No, I think I agree. I think
I listened to it literally the other day when I'm driving down to London, and it struck me how every song is its own song, but every song sounds cold.
Yeah, they all serve the greater theme and the
Yeah.
greater, well, not story of the album, but so yeah, Silence in the Snow is a good pick. Until the World Goes Cold, another
Great
single,
song.
really.
I think that would be my pick.
It shows how good his vocals are getting, sort of the melody. I know his voice was shot in one respect because he couldn't do any of the shouting, but just how much range he had in his singing voice, I thought was impressive. But the song I'm actually going to pick is "The Ghost Is Haunting You."
That's one of my.
Is that one of
Such a good song.
That's one of my picks.
Well,
that was-
I'll
was-
go away until the world goes cold.
So, Ghost Haunting You. So you're picking Will Goes Cold, do you say?
Yes.
The other one that I really liked was The Thing That's Killing Me.
Is that your pick? Thing That's Killing Me.
It's either that
love
or
this
Silence in the
album.
Snow.
Just you mentioning it then, listening to it, it's a good album. Such a good album.
Again, I don't think it is a bad album. It only features solo because I prefer.
Everything else.
Again, I think this is proving just. I know you said you're not a massive fan of Trivium after this, but I think it's just proving that even you're saying they're all good quality albums. They're not this sort of later era of Trivium. There's very little that separates the quality of these later albums.
It's just not something I would return to very often. Not saying I won't listen to it.
Yeah.
And I might think, well, oh, you know what?
But it's always going to be a feature of Cabin Nights as well,
Yeah.
so you're always going to at least be listening
Yeah.
to it. You know,
And most of the
I'll
Trivium,
make sure of it.
most of the Trivium I've listened to is from YouTube. other than Crusade, which I bought, most of the Trivium stuff I've listened to is through you.
Okay, so next we have, and the dawn of the greatest era of Trivium, 2017, Sin and Sentence.
2017, Sin in the Sentence. Yep, let me just get me singles up.
Google is agreeing with you.
Thank you.
The voice of Google agrees.
So with
I hope
that
my
we
Google.
had,
Hey Google, what?
typically they are going with title tracks as their opening singles. They do again, so Sin and Sentence.
Yep.
That was followed by Heart From Your Hate.
Yep.
Then after Heart From Your Hate,
How many singles were there? 3 or 4?
4 weren't
Oh,
they?
okay.
I
2 for 2.
know the last one was Endless Night.
He's 3 for 3, but can he get the 4?
I didn't know release. I'm doing, but I didn't know half of these were single.
I know it
See,
was
I
Betrayer.
He was Betrayer, 4 for 4. So I don't know how many singles we're on, but he's on top marks for everything so far.
It's brilliant. I'm sorry, Sin and
It's
Sentence
such a
is
good album.
brilliant. I'd argue this is the only Trivium album that doesn't have one bad song.
Finish.
I would personally say I could listen to this album on almost on constant repeat, which is now kind of giving away where it goes in my rankings.
This one I did struggle really to pick 3.
Yeah.
Oh, just to pick
I
3.
really struggled.
Oh, I thought, where are you going with this, Rock?
I struggled to pick it all. It's all shit.
It's brilliant. This is for me.
It's ranked even lower than Embassy.
You can't even set up with a straight face.
the build up again for this album was huge.
So I don't remember the build.
They released, the symbols that they got for each song.
I love
they were
that.
releasing
Yeah.
them daily, and then they released Sin and the Sentence with the video together, and they were releasing snippets from the video as well. Not any at band, but bit like where you see like a gloved hand with a knife in it or whatever. And just before the day before they released a sound bite from the song as well. And it's the last bit of the song where saying and said the flames grip your throat or whatever. And I remember actually working in the kitchen at that point, and I remember with a friend of mine who was big into Trivium as well, kitchen manager, been listening to that and just thinking, holy fuck, what's this album going to be like? Because if that's the heaviness that we're getting, it did talks for years. Excuse me, gobbed that down. They talked Trivium, specifically Matt Heafy, being a big black metal fan, and spoke for years about releasing a black metal album or releasing more black metal as Trivium. Or more black metal inspired stuff, and hearing that I was just thinking, with the imagery being quite religious-y to a degree and what have you, and then the sound that came with it, I was like, this is going to be incredible, and it was.
This is the first album that I really got. This is the album that we go, yeah, I like it.
This is the one that
as much as I liked it, as I really liked it in waves, I kind of went not off them, but I didn't listen to them as religiously. And then when Sin and Sentence came, I was like, oh no, this is brilliant. This is good. This is good.
This is probably the album that I've listened to the most from you two, because we started Cabin Nights not long after this. You started,
Christ, really? Is that?
You started yours in 2017, didn't you? So
yeah.
we'd have started
You
early
still have
18.
hair
I did.
We'd have started them
Back
early
in the
18,
day.
That's true, yeah.
or maybe late 18.
Yeah, before the next album came
But we-
out, anyway, yeah.
Because I remember what the Dead Men Say coming out, and you were playing stuff off that on one at Cabin Nights when that first came out, or when it was.
Yeah, because it was during lockdown that came out, wasn't it?
But
Oh, it was, yeah.
It was during lockdown, because I remember thinking they've really got their act together, but it's something that's become apparent over Trivium's sort of history, is how they're not against releasing an album and then releasing another album a year later.
Yeah, I did really struggle with picking just 3, and I think I've, for me, again listening in on probably an album once through and odd song here and there, I think I've picked possibly certainly the 3 heaviest songs on this album for me: Beyond Oblivion, Betrayer, and Wretchedness Inside.
They're all brilliant. I'm sorry, they're all fucking brilliant.
Sever the Hand is great. That's the one I remember.
That's one you
most.
keep playing from this
Yeah.
album.
That's the one I'm picking.
You
You might
pick
as well write it down now.
Yeah,
That's
Sever the
the
Hand.
one that I whenever that starts now, I automatically assume that's a Cabin Night thing, because he's played it that way.
I really liking that. And when we first heard it, you went, "Oh, it's going to go pit song." I was like, "Really? Yeah, it's going to go pit song." And you went, yeah. And you went to go see Trivium. And the first thing you said was, "Told you Sever the Hand would be a good pit song."
So good. I don't think that's probably the hardest I've ever pitted
Yeah.
at a gig ever. Possibly.
For me, I mean, you've said like Beyond Oblivion is brilliant, just fantastic. Just the imagery, all the lyrics pull up as well.
Simple as well as a chorus.
Yeah, was it A Dead Road, A Dark Sun, Beyond Oblivion? It's just.
No, wait, it's Beyond Oblivion.
I really like Other Worlds. Other Worlds is brilliant.
Probably, if I was going to pick any, it's either Endless Night or Other Worlds as like the weaker tracks. For
They
me.
They were the two that I picked as the.
Oh, no, I really like Other Worlds.
I would skip them.
Other Worlds to me feels more like a Silence in the Snow song.
Okay.
Endless Night, I think I would skip every time because Sever the Hand follows it.
Do you want to get? No, it's a bad song, but you just want to get Sever the
I
Hand.
think I know what your pick's going to be.
Go on. What do you think my pick is?
Revanchist.
The Revanchist is up there with Corsica Ties, that as best songs Trivium ever done. In fact, it's that strong a song. They were going to call the album The Revanchist.
Yeah.
It was that strong a song, but then they wrote some in the sentence and went, "Oh no, we really like this one instead." So which is why I'm always surprised that Revanchist never came out as a single, because they really liked it.
Yeah.
Because it was an interview with saying, because they even had artwork drawn up for having it called The Revanchist.
Yeah.
And they had like I think it was like a biblical painting type thing they had, a bit like they did with Caught the Dragon in the end, but they had like a nice sort of oil painting kind of, or at least designed, and then they kept recording and they recorded a in sentence when, "Oh no, this is strong," and I think they did right to rename. I think that it was the right call, but yeah, I just think Revanchist is
Wonderful little story that came out in the sort of the interview process following the release of this album was Wretchedness Inside. It was written by Matt Heafy for, in his words, another very well established band, and they'd commissioned him to write it for him. He sent it to them, they loved it, and then didn't release it. So he took it back and they released it on this album.
what song was that?
Wretchedness Inside.
Oh, sorry, yeah. What band was that rather?
That's what I would like to know.
Oh, he's never revealed.
He's not name dropping, absolutely not, and I don't think he ever would. But it makes me wonder, because to me it feels Slipknotty in places, it feels Sepultura in places, Soulfly. It's quite tribal.
Do you think Daddy Hetfield turned him down and went, "Well, fine, I'm gonna have my own Metallica album with Blackjack and hookers"?
Would it be a Devil Driver?
I could hear that actually. Yeah, a bit of Des in there.
I don't think it's.
But there's nothing to say that the version on the album is the version that would have been given to whoever it was. Like, he may have tweaked it even more to put it onto the Trivium album.
Well, yeah, because if he's wrote it for example, Slipknot, then it wouldn't fit on a Trivium.
Why would you write it? Because Slipknot always write their own songs, so you wouldn't give it to someone like Slipknot. But I get what you're saying. But yeah,
if you write for that band,
you try and write it in their style.
Like if you were writing it for Disturbed, it would sound completely different. It
would sound like Vengeance Falls, yeah.
Which is a good album.
It is a good. I'm sorry, it is a good album. It is a good album. It's not a bad album.
Then I have a feeling now I may upset Jake. I've got
their weakest album. It's not a bad album.
It's not their weakest album.
It's not their weakest album.
Subjective, dear.
Yeah, I've got a feeling I am going to upset Jake now.
That's fun. It's always fun when that happens.
We upset him on Ghost, and we'll upset him again.
So yeah, I've written down. So you Sever the Hand, Revanchist. So what is your pick?
Wretchedness
Aside, right?
Yeah. Either that or Betrayer. I'll be on.
Yeah, that's about every song. Oh, this is my pick. Next song. No, this is my pick. I've even written it down. There's no filler on this album.
No.
It's fun. And then when they release
Endless Night and Other Worlds would be the only ones for me.
And even then, I know we're not talking about the special editions, but the special edition of this album is also brilliant because it's got the reworking of Pillar of Serpent, and a load of really fun covers.
Yeah, Kill the Poor,
and that. Oh, they did one in
Spanish
one, which is brilliant. Yeah. It's just really, really good. It's just a good album. I can't hear anything against it. It's a good album.
It's a very good album. So what we got next? What the Dead Men say? 2020.
Indeed, 2020.
Okay, so we've got.
Want to venture your singles?
So this is one where they didn't start with.
It is indeed.
Catastrophist is what they started with.
It is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Then they released.
I sound surprised every time you come and say that. I go, is it? I have no idea. Obviously, I have no idea what's happening anywhere.
What the Dead Men say.
When did the world close?
March 2020.
Yeah, but what date in March?
Like 20th, something like that.
Just really odd.
Oh, it came out like just after, didn't it?
No, it came out just before. They released Catastrophist on February 27th.
Yeah, because we were at Caravan when they released it.
And they released What the Dead Men Say on the 26th of March. But I'm sure I remember you playing that on a cabin night, but we'd have been locked down by then, wouldn't we?
Yeah, it'd be my birthday. Which was the first cabin night we had since we were allowed to.
Because you weren't listening to them, would you? You wouldn't listen to them off your own back. So yeah, that'd been yeah.
So,
So
next single after Catastrophist was What the Dead Men Say.
Yeah.
Then it was Amongst the Shadows and the Stones.
3 for 3.
And 4 was Bleed Into Me.
Has he gone wrong?
4 for 4. Fucking hell, if we do a Metallica episode, I've got to do all this.
Oh, can we do Metallica next? Can we do Metallica? No, we
I'm going to have them all towed down before I finish it. Because if I do it in pen, it'll all have rubbed off me now.
just do what Rimmer did, just scrape your arm, just smack it on the paper. Oh,
Excuse me.
oh, he's up.
Where's your Trivium albums?
Under T for Trivium.
Of course.
Certainly, I don't mean this as a major disrespect. It's a shit album to follow in the sentence. I don't think it's
It's a step down. I wouldn't say shit, but
well, no, but I mean,
as kind of, oh my god, this is fantastic, and I go, oh, this is just a bit more of the same. It's a little bit disappointing.
It's again, I've listened to them all fresh ears, never really listened to them fully before. I would have much preferred them to continue on the same vein as the sentence, and I think What the Dead Men Say is a little.
See, I thought they did, but it was just too. It was too similar for me. They didn't step forward enough.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's still not a bad album.
No.
It's still brilliant. And if it had come out before Sin and Sentence, I think we'd be saying it the other way around.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think.
No, I think Sin in the Sentence is still.
I think this for me, it's where Sin in the Sentence was great all the way through. Even the ones that we mentioned already that weren't as good, it's still a good album start to finish. It's an album you could put on start to finish. Whereas this, I think the singles and the tracks that I like are not as good as In the Sentence, but certainly up there with some of Trivium's best stuff. But there were more drops in between. It weren't a full album of that.
No. I mean, it's still relatively high on my list, though. I will put that out there. Yeah, I think it was a bit too close in style and theme for Sin the Sentence for me. Again, still not a bad.
Look at that! I wrote 4 down for this one.
Ooh.
I don't know why, because we're only writing 3. But anyway.
Although I think I maybe struggled to get 3 on this one. I can't remember.
3 were easy on this one for me.
Go on, what
There were 3 of my favourite songs on there. The Defiant, Amongst the Shadows and the Stones, and Sickness Unto You. I love Sickness Unto You.
So that's one of my least favourites, Sickness Unto You.
Yeah.
On this album, it's one I'm least bothered by. Again, not a bad song,
It's
but
just very thrashy though.
Mine, for some reason, I did write 4, and I'm not quite sure why. Were Amongst the
You
Shadows
just liked
and
4
Stones.
of them.
Bleed Into Me,
Pleasing to Me is a good song.
Scatter in the Ashes, and Bend in the Arc to Fear. The good 4.
It's interesting. According to Sam, it's always been this way, but I only remember reading about it on the interview sort of promo cycle for this one. Is that how much of the lyrics are written by Paula? He
Are
writes
they?
like 90% of the lyrics.
I always thought it was Matt.
90% Paula.
I didn't know that.
But does
Matt Eafy describes their relationship as Paula's the director and he's the performer. That's how he describes the dynamic.
So is this the first album that Paolo's done most of the?
All of them, apparently.
Oh, that was right.
Or most of them. Certainly from sort of Shogun onwards, Paolo's been very... Matt will always do guitar lines and Corey will always do guitar bits, but...
Okay. Oh, so it is like a full partnership then. They all kind of do it between themselves.
Yeah, and Matt will obviously still write songs, as will Corey probably, but like 90% of lyrics are Paolo.
I did not know that. But yeah, ones I picked, Defiant, you both said, Scatter in the Ashes, you both said. But the title track, What the Dead Men Say, I think it's a really good song.
It is a good song.
I think it's stronger than Bleed Into Me.
I think it is. It only slightly... Bleed Into Me is great because of the bass. It's only
Yeah,
slightly...
but it's got a
beginning.
It's got a good bass line, but the rest of the song's a bit for me. And I know you said you don't like it, but I don't mind Catastrophist.
Yes.
I didn't like Catastrophe.
It's not one of my picks.
I like what the Dead Men said, but the only reason I would say Bleed Into Me wins over the two, why those two are the ones that are side by side, I don't know, but this is the debate we're having. So.
Okay, this is where we are now, so we'll have it.
It's because what the Dead Men say, for all that it is a fantastic song, it's just slightly repetitive, chorus-wise.
Okay.
Whereas Bleed Into Me is a bit... I like the theme of Bleed Into Me as well. Part again.
I don't agree with you, but I get what you're saying.
The theme for the story behind Bleeding to Me is Paolo said he was going home late one night and he was on a underground or some sort of tube train system anywhere, wherever he lives, I don't know, Florida, and he saw a guy shooting up on train, and he said he remembers it like photographic memory of this moment of this guy sticking the needle in his arm and then seeing blood going back into the syringe.
Yeah.
Hence, Bleeding to Me. All about addiction.
I'll go first as well. I'm picking Defiant. I think Defiant is a fantastic song.
It's Ascendancy era music.
It reminded me of The Deceived.
Yeah.
It's sort of like it's just evolved. I mean, not just because it's the, but yeah, it feels like it's that type of song evolved to modern metal. So that's why I think, So the Defiant for me. And again, it's got a nice anthemic chorus that the crowd can chant along with.
I'll go with Sickness Unto You then.
I'll go with Scatter in the Ashes. Scatter.
That was a very close second, Scatter in the Ashes.
Yeah. Again, not a bad album. I think if just again, not a massive fan. If Trivium had stopped at Sin of the Sentence, they'd have gone out on a bang. If this had been a few years later, and we're going to come back and we're going to do this, I'd have gone.
This is quite a quick turnaround.
Should have fucking stayed out. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I
mind you, not as quick a turnaround as this album, the next album.
No.
Another 1 year gap.
It's weird talking about it. My order's changed while we've been talking about it.
Is it?
Really?
Yeah. Like, sort of evaluate in my head, going, actually, no, you're right. That album is strong. Only two albums to switch. But again, like I said, that the top five for me could switch. And I think,
I think mine would on any other day, but.
But yes, that takes us on to In the Court of the Dragon.
In the Court of the Dragon, 21.
Hang on.
And they only released 3 singles for this one, and I remember them clearly seeing.
I know the first one, so we were together when
it
came. I know because we were together when it came out.
Was it the title track?
It was.
Indeed.
That was followed by Beast Fire.
Just a month later.
And then they finished the singles with The Phalanx.
They did, yes, I remember that.
Because they recorded that in the hangar, Trivium hangar. And it was just the 3, weren't it? For
just the 3. Released within 4 months of each other.
Yeah, because he probably went off to start recording a solo album after that.
Yeah.
When was this actually recorded? This was recorded.
Recorded during lockdown, I think, wasn't it?
Phalanx is a leftover Shogun song.
Is it? It was recorded between May 20 and June 21. So when was What the Dead Men Say recorded?
Late 19, I imagine.
It didn't tell me. No, it didn't tell me on that one. I just on listening to it, I thought this were a better album than What the Dead Men Say. I much prefer this one.
These are the ones I'm picking around, actually. Yeah, What the Dead Men Say and Court of the Dragon have literally just switched. They've literally just switched. But again, that proves the overall quality, I think, of these later albums.
Yeah,
is that
is that they can swap because they are interchangeable. Yeah, I loved In the Court of the Dragon. I just thought it was because a lot of it was Shogun era stuff. There's also stuff on the album which was a bit more experimental than what they would normally do. Shadow of the Abattoir.
Is the Hangovers on this, or is it from Shogun, or is it just?
Yes, Phalanx is a Shogun era song that never got picked. Massively reworked apparently, but still, like the seed, if you like, was Shogun era.
Yeah, again, I struggled to pick 3 on this one. Shadow of the Abattoir, I would have put that in. I haven't put that in, but I would have.
It's Shadow of the Abattoir's my pick. One of my picks rather. It's just a strong. I remember saying to you when the actual song Court of the Dragon came out, it's missing something. It feels like there's an intro missing. You go, no, there's not. There's not an intro. I said, there's an intro missing, and it's really annoying because it just abruptly starts, and I don't like it. And then when the album came out and from the intro of 10 intercolours, it works now. It's a brilliant song because it's got that nice intro intercolours. And there's anything wrong with starting a song straight away.
Yeah.
But I just felt like for me, it's like it feels too abrupt. It feels like not that it's not starting abruptly because it's the start of the song. It felt like it was starting abruptly because they'd cut off the intro. I feel there's a difference to be had, and so it Caught the Dragon itself as a song with the intro of 10 works even better.
It's like the only song I can put that to is Blackened by Metallica, because it starts out with that really quiet guitar, that like a guitar riff that builds up.
Yeah.
And if you start it at the start of where the drums kick in, it would sound horrible without that guitar bit at the beginning. So I get what you're saying. If it seems like it started without that bit missing.
I was about to use another Metallica reference, what it could work, and then I thought, oh no, that would actually still work. I was thinking Battery, the do 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 do. I thought if you just start with it, just do 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 do. I thought, no, actually that would still work by itself because
live is the point at which to start playing, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's
recorded.
It's PA.
Yeah.
And then they.
But they've still got the intro though.
Yeah.
But the song would still work if they just went straight into. But again, when we did Disturbed, you picked Remnants into Asylum as one big track.
Yeah.
I don't feel it's as abrupt with the start of Asylum. You can tell there's something missing from the start of Asylum.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it's not as abrupt.
Asylum
with,
certainly stands up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right. Remnants needs to be paired with Asylum for that. So my standout was so you said Shadow of the Abattoir. I really like Sword of Damocles as well.
That's one of mine.
Sword of Damocles. And my favourite track from the album. In fact, you've guessed my favourite tracks. So let's see if you can guess my favourite track on this one as well.
It's either Fall Into Your Hands or No Way Back With Through.
It is one of those tracks.
Well, mine's Fall Into Your Hands.
Okay. The album is literally right next to you.
That's what the Dead Men say.
That's what the Dead Men say. So the album's not right next to you. The
album's up there
The album's
somewhere.
there on the shelf.
Under Trivium.
I'll go with No Way Back With Through.
You are correct once again. No Way Back Through. Just,
So I've got one different to you. I've got a Crash Revolution.
No Way Back's going on, by the way. No Way Back is mine.
No Way Back was one of mine. So I'll go with what have you put on?
I've not picked yet.
You're not picked.
I've told you that. It's not Fall Into
Your Hands.
Ooh, do I pick like Sword of Damocles or Crash Revolution? Sword of Damocles.
Sword of Damocles.
That's a shame that Shadow of the Abattoir's not on.
It is,
We all said we liked it, and it's not actually.
Well, if we've all said we like it, put that one on all.
Whack it on anyway.
So we just chuck one on, just an extra one on. We're not doing all
Reason
three
I
albums.
like
I mean, to be fair, the list is already quite long
Yeah.
for this. I'm not sure we
like
need
10 albums, isn't
10
it?
albums. Yeah, 10 albums. Yes, 30 tracks so far. Yeah.
It'd be a good playlist.
Another thing that I really love about this album is it's the first time that they've used Paolo's backing vocals for the backing vocals.
Yeah.
They've always recorded Matt singing the backing vocals.
I never like it when bands do that.
No.
When
it was a done thing though. It was a traditional.
and I'll say Avenged Sevenfold used to do it. Disturbed used to do it. It's like, but that's not how it's going to sound live.
No.
And I know, sort of like famously, some guitarists can't sing for shit. That's why they get a guitarist.
Yeah.
But it's like, but it's not how it's going to sound live. Yeah. So it's like when you hear it, it's like famously, not famously rather, but I know it's not the same in the fucking slightest. But Evanescence, when they did Bring Me to Life, the version on the CD is the only time you'll ever hear that version.
Yeah.
Whenever it was sung live, it was done by one of the guitarists, but not the guitarist who could sing. It wasn't done by Ben Moody, it was done by the other one. Because Ben Moody could sing, but they gave it to the other one. Because the guy who sings...
Evanescence soon, actually.
Oh shit, I forgot that it's been rearranged like 5 times, that gig.
This is Emma's birthday present from 2019.
Fucking hell. So is it then Within Temptation, isn't it?
It's a co-headline though, so I don't know who's going on last.
I should still say Evanescence.
See, I'd have thought Within Temptation. As much as I love Evanescence and love
Within Temptation are the more legacy band, been out longer, have more albums and all that. But I think the pull would be
Evanescence are a more recognisable band. Yeah, I'll grant you.
Even they're both going to do an hour and a half or 2 hours away.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be a double headlining tour. But I think Evanescence should close.
Yeah.
As much as I would rather Within Temptation close. Don't tell
Back
Emma.
to Trivium.
Back to Trivium, yeah.
Don't tell Emma. Yeah, she doesn't listen. Yes, it's fine. Yeah, it's
She doesn't
fine.
listen to the podcast.
Well, make sure
She's way behind.
Make sure this one comes out after you've been to see.
Just going back to Paolo's backing vocals.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably, other than the break it down and going into the thrashy elements of what I liked so much about Sever the Hand, it does the same thing on Fall Into Your Hands.
Fall Into Your Hands?
It's Fall Into Your Hands. But yeah, there's a bit where Matt sings, so we fall, and then you see a Paolo in the back. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, that's Paolo, and that made me so happy. Because I've been listening to Paolo doing it live for years.
It just makes sense that it doesn't.
Now that you're hearing him on album, it just made me so happy.
Okay, have we done?
I think that's the album.
That's all. That is all 10 albums
So-
reviewed.
The bit. Well, let's upset Jake.
Come
Come
Go
on.
on then.
Right. So, are we?
I can't
Me and you agreed with the bottom album.
Top to bottom to top.
Yeah. Okay, so
Number 10.
Ember to
Ember to
Inferno.
Inferno.
There's-
so for me it's Vengeance Falls.
I'm so no. Ember to Inferno is up.
That's really interesting because Vengeance Falls is high on mine.
Yeah, and that's
Very
that's
high
fine.
on
Where's Ember on yours?
Next.
So can we agree then that Ember's the bottom because?
Well, I don't think we were agreeing yet, are we? That's all.
Well, no, I just want you to admit that Ember's the worst album they've done.
And I won't be doing that. even if we swap them round, I'll not be admitting that.
Okay.
You can't listen to an album when you're 15. See how good yours
Let's-
is.
I did, and it got shown back because it was shite.
Let's go up and then we'll
Yeah,
Okay.
then we'll come to the ranking last.
Okay.
Number 9.
because there's going to be a lot more sticking later
My
on.
number 9. Sorry, Jake, is Silence in the Snow. Too melodic. I don't.
Okay.
I don't like it.
My number 9 is Ember.
Mine's Crusade.
Okay.
My 8 is Crusade.
Okay.
Again, not that I don't like
Yeah.
it. There are much better albums.
Jacob, your number 8.
My number 8 is Crusade.
Okay. Mine is Vengeance Falls.
Your 7.
My 7 is Ascendancy.
My 7's Ascendancy.
What the Dead Men say.
My 6 is What the Dead Men Say.
My 6 is Ascendancy.
My 6 is Silence in the Snow.
What did I say? That we were all going to have the same album?
I mean, to be fair, they're all
I never said they were going to match. I said that they were all going to be in that bottom half.
Okay, so number 5. This is where it swapped around for me. So number 5 is now What the Dead Men Say.
Number 5 is In the Court of the Dragon.
And it's now Silence in the Snow.
So these are swapped around. So number 4 is now Court of the Dragon for me.
Number 4 is Sin the Sentence.
In Waves.
Ooh, that was me about to say. Also got the same top 3, but obviously not. So number 3 for me is In Waves.
Number 3 for me is Vengeance Falls.
Wow, that is
Number
high.
3
I-
is-
Wow, that is a lot higher than I thought it was going to be.
Re-talking about it, I might put that in 4 and put Sin the Sentence above it. But I did like it.
So where was in the sentence, sorry for you?
Sin the Sentence was 4.
Oh.
4, and then Vengeance Falls is 3.
Oh, okay.
So my number 3 is In the Court of the Dragon.
I said 3 is In Waves for me. 2 for me is Shogun.
2 for me is Shogun.
Sin the Sentence for me.
1 for me is In the Sentence.
1 for me is In Waves.
Shogun. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think you're right. The different sections are quite similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, mine. very much
Bar
is-
your Vengeance Falls suddenly shooting up
Well,
the
no,
list.
because I said it was eras. In Wave, Shogun, and Vengeance Falls were 3 back-to-back albums.
Yeah.
Sin in the Sentence, In the Court of Dragon, What the Dead Men Say are 3 back-to-back albums.
Yeah.
Ascendancy, Crusade, Silence, and Ember are all in different
Yeah.
eras, but mine is very much eras. So, right, what is the worst Trivium album?
It's
Because I agree with you both that it's a bad album.
Musically, it's not a bad album. Vocally, it is a bad album.
Okay.
That's why I don't like it.
Either way, it's only because I like the songs on Ember to Inferno
Don't take beer away from
more.
So,
I like the songs on Ember more than I do on Vengeance Falls. It comes down to that alone, having listened to them again. In terms of the better produced album, the better sounding album, absolutely Vengeance Falls. So I'm happy for those to swap out. I'm more than happy for
okay,
that.
so we're saying Ember is number 10 then?
Yeah.
Ember is number 10.
Ember number 10.
Ember is number 10. Correct. Ember is number 10.
Mine's right. Woo!
Yes, mine is right. Right.
So you're happy on that one, Jake? You're not. That's not upsetting you.
Right.
So
Okay.
shit, let's upset him.
Oh, we will do as we get further up, I'm sure. So my next one was Crusade.
My next one, Silence in the Snow.
And mine was Ember. So it would now be Vengeance Falls.
So what was your number? So it was Vengeance Falls.
Yeah.
Well, Vengeance Falls is only one above that for me.
Crusade is only one above it for me.
What was Crusade for you?
Same as you, I think. So 8.
Well, no, Crusade was 9 for me.
Crusade was 8. Yeah. For me.
With these next few, I'm happy to be quite fluid with these ones.
I am. I again, like I said, these are what I think are better albums, and I am not a fan of the melodicness of Silence in the Snow. I'm happy for it to move. If you both agree it's a better album, but I
bet again on another day of the week, like I said, I've got Silence in the Snow above Ascendancy, but another day of the week, that would swip round. So I think it's hard for me to say. It's hard, yeah.
But Jake won't let it go that low. Should it
Silence.
What's after? Silence in the Snow's 5 for me, so 6 was Ascendancy.
But that would...
Can't in good conscience let it drop below Ascendancy.
It is on mine.
It is on mine.
So basically, I think our choices for number 9 are Silence in the Snow, Crusade, or Crusade, really.
I'll drop Crusade down to 9.
Crusade, number 9, right? I'm 2 for 2 so far. I'm doing well. It's like Ghost all over again. That was my list.
We're on 8 now, yeah.
Number 8 now.
My 8th was Crusade.
So my 8th was Crusade.
My 8th is Vengeance Falls. But
So-
again, I'm happy to move stuff around.
So my 8th would now be Silence in the Snow because it's moved up because we've dropped Crusade.
I'm happy to put Silence there.
I am, yeah.
You happy to put
I'm
Silence
happy to
there?
put Silence there. Again, the next few are fluid for me. So I'm,
Okay.
It's more important the top of the list, really.
yeah. So Silence is there. So number 7. So 7 for me was Ascendancy.
7 is Ascendancy for me.
Mine was What the Dead Men Say.
What the Dead Men Say is 6 for me.
Well, Devon says 5th for me.
And that's mainly because in that era, Sin, What the Dead Men Say and Caught the Dragon, I think What the Dead Men Say is the weaker of those 3 albums. Mm-hmm. So that's why mine's dropped to that.
Where's Deadman for you?
No, 8.
So Deadman's now for you, and where's Deadman?
7, sorry.
So we'd say Deadman was 7th for you.
Dead Men's 6. Ascendancy is 7 for me.
Could we meet in the middle and call it 6th? But then what do we pick for a 7th?
So what was 6? Sorry.
My 6 is...
No. What we say meet in the middle. We say meet in the middle. Oh,
Well, I've picked it as 7th, you've picked it as 6th, and you've picked it as 5th, so I'll call it 6th.
What for Dead Men? Okay, so Dead Men's 6th. So to be fair, that really leaves that really only leaves Ascendancy.
Well, my Ascendancy was my number 6.
Put Ascendancy is 7.
Okay. All right. So number
I've been
5.
far too gentleman.
It
We
is.
have. But again, I think because I thought we were going to have completely contrary. Like I would have sworn blind that you'd have gone nope, Ascendancy. That's it. Nothing else. Ascendancy. I'd have sworn blind. That's before we came into this, and not knowing your history with Trivium so much, I'd have sworn blind that was what you'd have gone for.
Again, the vocals are a hell of a lot better, but they're still not as good as what he can do.
So I say 5 was Deadman for me, but obviously I would pick that.
And it was Silence for me, so...
It was 5 for you, Robert.
Court of the Dragon.
Court was 5 and then went up to 4, so Court is only number 4 for me.
See, my 4 is In Waves.
I don't think I could admit that In Waves is better than Court of the Dragon. In Waves is not better than Court of the Dragon.
I don't think I can because I got In Waves as number 1.
It's quite a big drop for you. Where is Court for you?
I'm happy to drop In Waves slightly.
Yeah,
not
I'm to
above
move
Court.
it. Yeah,
In the Court of the Dragon is 3, to be fair. But again, they're interchangeable.
Yeah.
They are. I'm happy to swap In Waves around with In the Court, I really am.
See, you're being far too kind about your band. Because if this were Metallica, my order is the order, and if we're not agreeing,
and
get out.
that's fine. I remember when I first heard In the Court of the Dragon, I always said it goes Shogun and then the rest.
Yeah.
So with
both.
Vengeance Falls at the bottom.
Yeah.
It's pretty much. It's only very recently I've got a finite, a solid list.
So we're saying Court of the Dragon is 5 then? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, Court is number 5. Number 4.
My 4 then was In Waves.
Oh, that is something. Ember to Inferno, Crusade, Silence in the Snow. Oh, we haven't done fucking Vengeance Falls yet. He's been very quiet with Vengeance Falls, and that's kind of snuck up the list.
I've not placed it yet.
You've not? No, we've. Vengeance Falls was 8.
It's not coming above. What's the last one we just picked?
We picked Court of the Dragon. It's not better than Court of the
It's
Dragon.
not coming above In the Court.
No, sorry. We've fucking skipped over Ascendancy.
Nicely played.
Vengeance Falls.
I'm just looking at my number 3 going, ooh, Vengeance Falls.
We fucking skipped over that.
So read the list as it stands then.
So 10 is Ember to Inferno. 9 is Crusade, 8 is Silence in the Snow, 7 is Ascendancy, 6 is What the Dead Men Say, and 5 is Court of the Dragon.
I'll allow above Silence in the Snow. It is not better than Ascendancy.
I think I'd agree with that.
I'm not allowing it above Ascendancy.
So that would then push
Not being a fan, drop Vengeance Falls.
So Vengeance Falls.
I ain't. There's one that I'm not going to drop too low.
So that makes Vengeance Falls number 7 then after all that.
It's only dropped 4 places. That's all right.
That's quite but
It's
for
far
some
higher than I would have put it. So, there you go.
So Vengeance Falls is number. It's not that much. It's only 1 higher for me. So that makes Ascendancy 6th. That makes Dead Men 5th, and that makes Court of the Dragon 4th. So does that mean that our top 3 is Sin and Sentence, Shogun, and In Waves?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm happy. That's a very good top 3. That is a very good. So.
I just think this order differs quite a bit.
Well,
So
in fact, though, if you think about it, Shogun's my favourite album.
In Waves.
In Waves is Sin and Sentence.
Sin and Sentence is mine.
So we've got our 3 top 3 there. That's going to make it really tricky.
So number 1 is Sin for you. So what's everyone's number 2?
Shogun.
2 is Shogun for me as well.
Sin and Sentence for me.
So that leaves 3 is In Waves for me. Even though In Waves I've got an emotional attachment to, I think just out of those other 2.
I think, based on what I said about Sin and the Sentence, I would put that now above Shogun. So that for me would put Shogun 3, Sin and the Sentence 2, In Wave 1. In my new top 3 ranking.
So it would go Shogun, Sin and Sentence, In Waves for me.
So yours is opposite to mine.
And mine's Sin, Sentence, Shogun, In Waves.
So yours, you drop In Wave. Have you dropped In Wave?
No, In Waves is always number 3. That's what I mean. It's always had a personal connection to
Yeah.
me, but as albums go, I think those other 2 are stronger.
Would Shogun at 2
Saying we've both said 2 for Shogun.
drastically upset you? Let's fucking do it.
It wouldn't drastically upset me. I
It depends
If-
if the other 2 go, I suppose.
agree at all.
If we were to put as a top 3, Sin, Shogun, In Waves.
Well, in that order
in
as
that
well.
order.
I'm happy with that.
In Waves. It's your order, isn't it?
No. I'm making a compromise here for the group.
I'm making a fucking compromise. Again, what I've said about Sin and the Sentence.
If it weren't such a good album, I think it'd be jarring. If we were at this point, as it looked like we were going to be with Vengeance Falls in that mix, I'd have been ready to fight you. But
Yes, that suddenly stealthily got into the top 3 for a second, yeah.
that would have been an embarrassing upset.
Yeah.
But no is the answer. No, I don't think
We've had
it's a better album.
a joint.
We have, as I was just about to say, we've had joints. So can we have a first and a joint second?
Wouldn't that be In Waves and Sin?
No, being Waves and Shogun.
Well, I don't care about In Waves really, and this really is between Sin and Sentence and Shogun.
If you toss up those 2 albums for me, Sin the Sentence is strong. Not saying Shogun's bad, because of course it's fucking not. It's a fantastic album. But
And you know what, actually,
Between those 2, Shogun and Sin and the Sentence, I would put Shogun higher.
I would agree that probably Sin and Sentence is far more developed and impressive sounding and whatever.
It's an element
But
of
it
your,
doesn't have nostalgia value.
I say it's an element of your personal
Yeah.
connection coming
Yeah.
into where that sits.
Yeah.
because the problem is that Shogun is also a brilliant it is a brilliant album. No one's denying that.
Those 3 albums, in all honesty, there's not much.
There's not a lot in it. And
No,
there's
there's
not.
not.
Even though I'm very reluctant to drop Shogun, there's not a lot in it. It's possibly even more in it in favour of Sin and Sentence, but I don't want to. I'm not doing it, damn it.
Yeah, but
Well-
it's 2 against 1 because me and Rob both
That's
agree.
not how these things work.
Well,
It is now.
Sin, Shogun, In Waves.
Yeah, I mean, In Waves is definitely in third.
So that was my top. I thought that was when I because I heard you talk about it on whichever one of the last ones you recorded.
Yeah.
You talked about Dustin Martin. I thought, I wonder what that's about. And I got to it, and I was like, this is fucking great.
Yeah, it's great. It's
It's
great.
probably a better album.
Oh, I'll take that. I'm taking that as
As much as I
confirmation.
can say.
Jake is not happy. We've upset Jake twice.
Yay!
Woohoo!
Yeah, but you know how fucking upset I was with the Disturbed one, so you're
Yeah.
fucking taking this.
And to be fair, this is an easier pill for me to swallow than the Disturbed.
Yeah, because you're not picking between a bad album. There's not a bad album
exactly.
there. They're all.
I'm picking between my 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So
In. Yeah, I'm very happy. This is very close to my actual list, so I'm very happy. So my top 3 are the same, my bottom 2 are the same. So yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right with this list.
all right, read the list, James. Seeing as it's
So-
now complete.
As the Cabin Night podcast, we agree
That's 10.
wholeheartedly with no arguments.
No arguments, no
Jake is
ill feeling.
absolutely fine.
No
with this.
And
no
I'm
recounts.
Absolutely not leaving after this one's finished recording.
So in number 10 is Ember to Inferno. Number 9 is The Crusade. Number 8 is Silence in the Snow. In 7th, stealthily, is Vengeance Falls. 6 is Ascendancy.
That's the biggest travesty.
5 is What the Dead Men Say. 4 is In the Court of the Dragon. 3 In Waves. 2 Shogun. And 1 Sin the Sentence. But the top 3 are all extremely close. It's more like 1 1.25, 1.5, really, if we're being honest about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is it. And so we've got the Trivium playlist. So 30 songs
For your listening
pleasure of old Triviums there.
We've done all right there.
We have, apart from sweating our body weight off, we've done it. Yeah.
Well, we shall go and enjoy some outdoor time after this.
Woo! We're running
Oh.
through fields of wheat. Is that?
Well, yeah, maybe.
Well, Jake's already half naked, so he might as well get naked through a field of weeds.
All that's left to say is you've been great. We've been Cabin Night. Good night.
Yeah.